Come on and dance with me. I can make your dream come true. Come on and dance with me. Ladies, get up on your feet. Come on and dance with me. Gentlemen, get on your feet. Come on and dance with me. Say the words in a rumble band with my hand. Let your mind and your body be free. Dance with me. Rocken Larry Locken, hey, with the Larry and Kelly podcast, formerly known as What's Your Opinion Show, in conjunction with Opinion of the Facts, ran by the great Kenny Jackson. Hey, I wanted to talk about a couple of things tonight real quick. I wanted to talk about today's verdicts with both Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, this morning, and then Michael Cohen's plea that he gave. I wouldn't call it exactly a plea deal that we know of. It might be a secret backdoor plea deal. It sure seems like it, because he could have got up to 80 years, but he only got 4 to 5, but he's not due to be sentenced till December, excuse me. So that still gives quite a while. Now, we started off this morning with Paul Manafort receiving, after 4 days of jury deliberation, what we ended up having was on 18 of the counts, we had 8 of them that he was found guilty on, and 10 of them where the jury was hung. Now, what we don't know, and I think that it's an obligation to release this, I'm not saying release their names, no, but it could have been 11 to 1 that jury was hung on, and it could have been a 6 to 6. I think we need to know what charges were hung on how many different people. And once reviewing that, if I was the district attorney, especially with that judge that they dealt with, Judge Ellis in that district, he seemed really anti-prosecution the whole case. Even, some of the remarks he made towards the jury and things of that nature. And basically, I think he came out basically at first and was asking if this was a witch hunt, to get bigger fish. But regardless, I'd consider retrying those other 10, and it may not matter because he's looking at 80 years right now, but if only he gets 5 years out of it, keep in mind, he's still got another case to be tried. Okay, he's still got another case to be tried, and I believe it is New York or DC. I think it's in New York Southern District. Manafort has another case to be tried in with similar charges, so we'll see what comes of that. But Trump can't be happy today. He seemed really out of place. He did a speech tonight in West Virginia, which is as white as you could possibly be. I noticed they stuck a couple black people in the crowd behind him to kind of, make it look like it was diverse. But it's so white there, and he promised everybody that their coal jobs were back and the economy was thriving, and boy, coal was just going to keep going, and how great it was that there's generations of coal miners digging for coal and poisoning their lungs and poisoning the earth and the environment and causing people to get cancer. That was really neat. But he still maintains that Paul Manafort's a good man. And this is about the time, too, probably right before he went on, that maybe he was dropped a dime on the info about what Cohen had said about him in court today. That in response to and it's funny, both Manafort and Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 crimes today. Cohen, in his last 2 explanations on the last 2 charges he pleaded guilty to, revealed in both cases that Donald Trump had been behind him making those payments. and then he knew about him before the election. And the payoffs, of course, were to silence Sarah McDougal for $150,000, and then Stormy Daniels for 131, which that only created more problems than it helped, because I don't think it would have hurt the election at all. Trump supporters are like cult members. They're going to follow him no matter what. That's why I don't think these end tapes, if there's any end tapes out there with him saying the N word, will really hurt him too much, because his supporters are already brainwashed like they're in a cult. And like these people in West Virginia tonight, that they know better. They know this guy. They know this guy is not for their state. They know there's no future in coal, and it's usually done by mountaintop removal anyway, but they think that they're going back to work. Trump said they're 100% of them are going back to work digging coal. And he even was like, well, I even asked them if they wanted to learn other technologies and things like that. And they said, no, they wanted to dig coal like their great grandfathers and grandfathers and fathers. Well, come on, people. There comes a time, it's time to move on and learn a new trade. Quit poisoning the earth. That shit has poisoned generations of your family. It's ruined your state of West Virginia, basically. I mean, with pollution and the pollution that it causes all over the fucking planet, basically. Okay? So get away from that and get off of that. And Trump just looked like he was so preoccupied in that rally, you know, and he picked the easiest base to do it in front of. You couldn't go anywhere easier for Trump than white West Virginia. But he was so worried, you could tell. And I'm sure that 40-minute ride home from Charleston, West Virginia up to D.C. was something for him, because that's when he really got to process what had happened today. Okay, first with Manafort in the morning being found guilty of 8 of the 18 charges. 10 of the charges, like I said, were ended up in a hung jury. We don't know, 6 to 6, 1 to 11, or any scenario between that. But you know, that's just in one case. Manafort still has another case he has to face up in a more, well, let's just say, not such a bias, kind of redneck, old school Republican supporting judge. He will get more of the wrath this next time, and maybe he'll roll a little bit on Trump. And it just seems like, and Michael Cohen releasing what he did today in court, and he's free now to talk to Mueller completely. And maybe Mueller can even, you know, take some of that 4 or 5 year sentence off. Who knows? But if he's got tapes, which there are tapes out there, and the prosecution said that they didn't even need to use them in this case, but there's plenty of other evidence out there. You know, just like with you can love her or hate her, but Omarosa. I mean, yeah, you can't believe a fucking thing maybe sometimes she says, but I can guarantee you one thing about that woman. If she had that iPod on her the whole time in the White House, she's got hundreds of hours of conversations taped of people saying things. Who knows? Maybe one of Trump's sons even did him in with saying some shit. But the problem is, it's important for people to get out there and vote in November, okay? So we can at least even this out a little bit and get a Democratic Congress and maybe a Senate, because this guy's ready to run wild. I mean, this guy's ready to start firing people. He could technically fire Mueller, fire everybody involved, pardon himself, pardon Manafort, pardon Cohen. I mean, he could start doing this. But I think the game he's trying to play is that have them maybe sit in prison for a year or two and him try to get reelected, and then he pardons him if he is, or if he's not reelected, then he pardons him still, along with pardon himself and pardon his kids and son-in-law, because I think his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his son, Don Jr., are next to be indicted. Maybe not next. It might be Roger Stone next, but coming down the pike real quick. Okay, and they're trying to push this new Supreme Court justice through in September, not giving it any time at all for review. And so I think we're going to be stuck with this new asshole. And so we're going to be left picking up the pieces for a lot of years on Donald Trump's mess in the Supreme Court. And the one Republican holdout, Susan Collins, it was like, and you ought to hear this bitch's mealy mouth voice from Maine. I talked to Kavanaugh today, and he said Roe v. Wade was not overturnable. It was precedent. It was precedent. Bullshit. They tried it once before in 1990, and luckily it was a 5-4 vote to keep it legal, or to keep it out of the state's hands. I mean, the bullshit. Okay, and plus Trump's just getting this guy in there because he knows that if Mueller tries to indict Trump without it going through Congress, then what'll happen is that he'll have all the other courts on up the way. He'll give him clearance to do it. And then the Supreme Court, 5-4, unless they get one break, will vote that he can't be. But if the Congress and the Senate could be taken over by the Dems, he could be impeached. But then, like I said, it's getting that 67 votes out of the Senate, which we need to pick off 16 or so Republicans. And if it was bad enough, if Mueller's allowed to complete his investigation, if that don't take him down, I mean, what? Omarosa has all these tapes. Cohen now has all these tapes, which Mueller has. You know they've got his tax returns. You know these claimed fucking probably $1 billion in losses on each of those. And without the Russians bailing him out and really propping him up since 1984, who would he be? Really, who would he be? Daddy wasn't around much longer. You know, it's just crazy. And he's so hate-filled in his rhetoric against immigrants and against people of color. You know, he's for militarizing the police. You know, you've seen it even the last few years in our country with cops, in even small towns, they have bulletproof vests on and more shit around their waist, and and then, you know, these big ugly riot helmets and during riots, and they're not even riots, but just to come in and calm situations down. And of course, their attitude, you've seen that. I mean, you've seen all the police shootings. It's time that we really rethink how we hire cops in this country and what we do with them in the training and teach. We really, we really need in all facets, not just police work. We need to really, become a responsive instead of a reactive society, not the kind of society that's just reactive all of a sudden because we just want some drama. No, we need to not want that. The best thing that could happen for you on a shift as a cop would be nothing. That would be a nice night. That's what you want. You don't want to go rouse some shit up. There's enough shit that happens out there. Okay? You don't want to rouse shit up. And it's your attitude and the way you talk to people sometimes. You can talk to people nice until it's time to not be nice. And usually that's the time when it forces into physical escalation if it has to. But until that time, there's no reason to get rude with a suspect. It's nothing personal. They didn't decide to fucking fuck your night over, okay? It's nothing personal. It's your job as a police officer to use every method of de-escalation, talking them down, not the guns out first, especially even if it's only one dude and but there's always a whole bunch of you, okay? Don't act like you're coming up against an army and that you have to be that worried. You know, if you can't be a little bit more calmer as a cop, I don't know what to say. I mean, obviously, I mean, look, we've had enough of these incidents on TV in the last 2 years to prove to people, you know, minorities getting shot at point blank range, even a white kid that did. Man, grow up, especially these bigger area cops ought to know better. They really ought to know better, but they get brainwashed into this shit, okay? But back to the Trump thing. Trump, let's pretend for a second, which it's not, this guy is guilty as a motherfucker. And I'm starting to believe he might actually go down. He's got, even if this guy was a good, innocent guy, this guy's got Omarosa to worry about every night. Cohen, Manafort, Michael Avenatti, Robert Mueller, and a lot of pissed off people with a lot of power. Okay? And it's getting so close to the election, the midterm, that they're not going to do anything after September and get through the midterm election. And then Trump has 2 months where his party's still in control, and he could fire Mueller during those times. But in a couple months, the Congress, if they wanted to, they could just pick him back up. They could pick him back up as an independent prosecutor. No sweat. So Trump is sweating up a storm. And not to mention all this NFL shit going down. You know, Kaepernick's going to subpoena his ass for collusion. He's just everywhere. He's everywhere in everybody's business, and it's going to burn him somewhere. And you're not going to know what direction it came from. I mean, there's at least 10 possibilities now that could take him down, and that's what we know of. Okay, so you won't know what hit. He won't know what hit him. Okay, so whether he's going to resign or whether impeachment is going to take a lot. Now, if there's that much on the table to impeach, it could possibly be, the impeachment could be done, but being kicked out of the Senate with 67 votes is unprecedented. So more likely what I see is him, I don't know if he gets that Supreme Court justice through. I can't see him resigning either. And an impeachment case plus a trial through the Senate would take just about into his next election. So it's really a matter of getting some strong candidates out there to vote this guy out. But at the same time, you don't know what some of these people have on him tape-wise. I mean, it could just be so overwhelming that Republicans are put in a position, even though, see, a lot of them, this is the difference between now and Watergate. A lot of the Republicans now, instead of the ones that called Republican Nixon out, a lot of the ones now are also paid off by Russian money. They're paid off through Russian money by the NRA. They're paid off on it through real estate deals. Some of the higher ranking ones in the House that will go and will stop at nothing to save Trump, even though they may lose their election this fall or they may not. But this is probably the most key, well, I'd say couple months till the election. It's less than 2 months to the election. No, it's not. It's 3. It's about 2 weeks short of being 3 months until the election. But then even if the Democrats take back the House and the Senate, or just the House, there's still that about month and a half till they go on vacation for Christmas. There's still that month and a half where the lame duck session is in control, and they could use that time to, my worst fear is to push that Kavanaugh through, which they'll probably do before the elections. But at that point, I really don't have any fear in those 2 month and a half of them firing Mueller, because, like I said, Congress or the House would just reappoint him as a special prosecutor anyway come January. And I don't really even see them coming out with any results till January anyway. So Trump's really rolling the dice right here. Will he freak out and pardon everybody and pardon himself? And then who knows what he's going to face. But we just need to stick together in this time, seriously. And people, get out there and vote. It sounds like a cliche, but get out there this midterm and vote. And really start paying attention to fucking campaign people, Democratic campaigners that are going to start popping up in 2019. Okay, I think we all know we got Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden. I don't know who else, Cory Booker, Klobuchar, probably maybe Michael Avenatti, if none of those people really get their shit together. And I love Bernie and Biden, but they're getting old. All right, vote for them. Klobuchar don't do it for me. Cory Booker is about 70% as cool as he should be. I just can't get into his groove. Jill DeBrand, I don't know. I'd like to see Jill DeBrand Harris or Nina Turner. I'd like to see them be president, or I'd really like to see maybe if things go the right way, I'd like to see them be a vice presidential candidate for Michael Avenatti, because if Avenatti's not going to be any punk in the primaries, and it's going to take a year, and people might fall in love with him and get attached to him, because he's been true on all the shit he said so far. And it's not just that he represented a porn star. He helped a lot of people, a lot of families at the border reunite with their children. Lots. Like, I don't know, it was 56 last I read. And so, he could do a lot of great. I wish he would actually represent Kaepernick in Kaepernick's trial versus the NFL, or at least get involved. Maybe we'll see something like that. But I just wanted to say that this has got to be one of them nights, like always, like all this shit's going through Trump's head. But see, the thing is, he's got the hammer. He could pardon at any time. He could end this all and fire these people and pardon them. He's playing a game to see if he can win the election. The Republicans keep the House. Who knows after that? Maybe he'd get freaked out. He ain't gonna do anything until after the election like that, though. I wouldn't think. I mean, he's crazy enough to, but I don't know if he's that crazy. But in a couple months, if he lost the election, or if he won at the midterms, the House stayed the same and the Senate stayed the same, I don't see why he wouldn't just fire Mueller and pardon everybody right there, because he's locked in now for another 4 years with the Democratic Congress and Senate, at least for another 2. And he could do it then. Who's to say? But, we'll just have to stay tuned and watch for it. But, man, people, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with a lot of people in America. People are laughing. A lot of people get their news only from Fox News, and they think all this conspiracy shit is true. Like Alex Jones and all this fucking bullshit, and QAnon, which QAnon got exposed for the husband and wife team. They were like some CIA, I thought it was stupid to think some CIA agent was behind it anyway. I mean, they're not that fucking stupid. They're all watched too. They're all watched like hawks too, and there'd have to be some serious money in it where they could go hide to do some shit like that. They're not gonna, even your most corrupt CIA agent or somebody who was trying to do a good job wouldn't be dumb enough to do it that way. So with that being said, thank you everybody for listening. To the Larry and Callie podcast. Callie's going to be out a while with eye surgery. He's got to have multiple eye surgeries on each eye in the next 6 months. So I'm in the process of looking for a new co-host right now. I've got a couple in mind, and they're also good candidates to have their own shows on both the network, on this channel, as well as they're frequenters on Kenny Jackson's Opinion That Facts channel. And I'd also like to give my 2 channels a couple of shout out, Pleiadian Light Grid Project and Pleiadian Express Productions. And with that, I'm going to give everybody much love and a big cosmic dating game kiss. Mwah.